It's Ross Atkins' 9th season with the Toronto Blue Jays. This season's not starting out on the right foot either. Is it time for them to make a move?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brackets to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all those parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available for U.S. customers. Just before we get into everything, couple quick housekeeping things. We are headed to Toronto May 17th to the 19th or 20th, I guess. And so if you guys have any places that we should check out, we'll be at all the games. Come down, say hi if you see us. If not, well, whatever. That we want to also thank you guys for checking out, watching this podcast all the time, the YouTube shorts, the TikToks, the Instagram reels, whatever you guys watch on. It is awesome. Make sure you guys hammer that subscribe button. You guys can check us out on Twitter as well. Braden 5 Wasco, Carter First 2. Now that that's out of the way, it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, because it's a big one. Everybody, I think, in the entirety of the MLB sees that the Toronto Blue Jays are not where anyone thought, hoped, expected them to be. Ross Atkins has been with this team for now going on his 9th season. There's been very little success, to say the least. Before we get into our whole take on Ross Atkins, Carter, what's his history with this team? Has he made some good moves? Has he made some bad moves? We're going to go into the history.
Yeah, Ross Atkins, definitely in a peculiar situation with his fan base. I feel like it's surprisingly a 50-50 split with what people think on him. But before we get into our analysis, we'll get into some Ross Atkins transactions he had since inheriting this Blue Jays team. So he did get hired on December 3rd of 2015. So pretty much inherited like a superstar, all-star team. Obviously, some of my best memories as a Toronto Blue Jays fan come from those 2015 and 2016 teams. So for this, I'm not really going to give him any credit on that, because it could have been anyone who inherited that team. It was going to be a successful team no matter what. You look at that roster: Josh Donaldson, Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion. So many good players on that team. So we're going to move on from that. But I am going to start in 2016 when we traded away Drew Hutchison for Francisco Liriano, Harold Ramirez, kind of tough, as we know he's being very successful with the Rays right now, and then Reese McGuire. If you guys know anything about this guy, you better watch out for him in a parking lot. He might be doing some interesting things. I'm not going to get into that reference, but if you know, you know. Great trade, obviously. Drew Hutchison hasn't really done much in the MLB. Again, at that point, the Toronto Blue Jays not a very good team, so not a lot of success in those upcoming seasons. Ended up flipping Francisco Liriano for one of my favorite Blue Jays back in the day, Teoscar Hernandez. We did see him recently with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Hurts my heart a little bit seeing this guy every single time he comes back to Toronto, whether it was with the Mariners, whether it was with the Dodgers. One of my favorite players that used to play on the Blue Jays. Obviously ended up flipping him later on for Eric Swanson. We'll get into that later. But then we go into Robbie Ray. Again, this guy, when he got traded to the Blue Jays, not a huge coveted starter, kind of like your middle tier guy, was expected to be probably the 4th or 3rd starter. And then I don't know if it was Pete Walker. I don't know if he had an awakening in a dream. I don't know what happened to Robbie Ray, but oh my God, in 2021, what a season this guy had, American Cy Young winner. So clearly we did something right there. The Bowden Francis and Trevor Richards trade for Rowdy Tellez in 2021. The Matt Chapman trade, the best prospect we gave up in that was Gunnar Hoglund. He has not even pitched in AAA yet, so another fleece from Ross Atkins. You go into one of the best pitchers we have on this team, one of the best players so far this season, one of my favorite players to watch this season, and probably a lot of your favorites to watch as well. And that is Jose Barrios. And I can't say enough about this guy. Absolute dog for the Toronto Blue Jays. This trade is a little interesting because the prospects we did give up are both actually in the MLB this year. Austin Martin, I believe, was a number 5 pick for the Toronto Blue Jays, and then Simeon Woods Richardson Austin Martin is hitting 226, not great, but he is still young. We're going to have to wait a while to see how that trade transpires. But right now, I think as a Toronto Blue Jays fan, you got to be pretty happy with what we got back. Whit Merrifield, another steal from Ross Atkins. His trade history is pretty good. He hasn't really made a lot of mistakes. A lot of these are great trades that you'd think would lead to Toronto Blue Jays success. Kid you not a lot of success, unfortunately. We go into one of the more controversial trades. There's really two here. The only two I could find. If I missed anything with good trade, there's so many good trades that he made. I couldn't throw all of them into this episode because I could be talking up until 20 minutes. So I just focused on highlights, but we'll get into the undecided again trades. And this is one of the most recent ones. It's the Dalton Varsho trade. Huge debates, obviously, about this trade. Dalton Varsho, a great young prospect, obviously known for his defense. Coming off of a career year, I believe it was 33 home runs for the Diamondbacks. Obviously, the Toronto Blue Jays go out, get Dalton Varsho, give up a haul, though, in return. You give up Lourdes Gurriel Jr., you give up Gabriel Moreno. A lot of fans think we lost this trade. It's too early for me. Dalton Varsho, probably the best defender in the league right now. Again, we see him making time catches seemingly every game. But then you look at stats this year for Lourdes Gurriel. He's hitting 246. He has 22 RBIs, 5 home runs. Again, not terrible. Gabriel Moreno, 238 average, 0 home runs, 13 RBI, a 669 OPS. Obviously a great defender. It's going to be a huge debate between him and Kirk for a long time. And this one is the only trade for me that was a complete fleece for the other side. And unfortunately, it was to the Dodgers. I talked about this on the podcast before. We get Mitch White. We send Nick Frasso. Nick Frasso is now the MLB's 72 ranked prospect. So a lot of information right there, a ton of trades. A lot of them look pretty good. Again, when you're looking at trades, on paper, it can mean something completely different from what you actually see on the field. And before we do head into how this kind of transpired for the Toronto Blue Jays, I do want to say that Ross Atkins actually has been very good with contracts as well. Again, contracts don't mean a ton in the MLB. There's no salary cap. But, I mean, when you're paying, if you had a Jose Abreu type deal, 3-year, $58.5 million deal, this guy's in the Florida Complex League, that's going to hurt you a little bit. Anthony Rendon, obviously one of the worst contracts in the MLB, maybe ever. Javi Baez, another horrible contract. Ross Atkins has nothing. No contracts like this whatsoever. We got people on great deals. Jose Barrios is making around $20 million a year for a pitcher that is one of the best in the league right now. That is unbelievable. Chris Bassett's only making around $20 million as well. Again, great contracts, not our money. I don't really care, but it is nice to see your manager not overpaying players. But Braden, I'm going to throw it back to you. So Ross Atkins, fairly good history on paper. You think he's making good trades, making good deals. Has that led to success for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Carter, you got to hold on 1 second. You're forgetting one of the biggest trades in all of MLB history.
I did a pretty deep dive. I mean, I don't know which one I'm forgetting here, but yeah, hit me with it.
Well, you're forgetting Paul DeYoung and cast considerations for Svanson. I don't even know how to say this guy's name. He might be in Mars, but one of the best trades of all time.
True. That is an absolute fleecing. Paul DeYoung, actually, one of the best Toronto Blue Jays ever, obviously, with his brief stint with the Blue Jays organization. I heard the reason that he actually left was because he was just making everyone else on the team feel horrible about themselves. Self-confidence on the Blue Jays roster at an all-time low with Paul DeYoung, one of the best players to ever do it. So had to get rid of him for the rest of the Jays' sake.
All right, little bit of goading there, a little bit of goading. I'm not gonna take this any further. But Carter, there's a lot with Ross Atkins that I would love to get into. But before I really give my full-on opinion, I want to take it back to that 2015, 2016 sort of switch over, because there was so much going on in that period with the Toronto Blue Jays. You're coming off such highs with this team. And you could tell it was sort of getting to that point where stuff had to start happening. There had to be moves made. They had to start looking at their young guys. And for Ross Atkins, he was sort of brought in at a hard time because it was coming out of that era where we had to sort of hit that switch. And in doing so, we got into the rebuild. And it's a very tough time for him to come in, just in the sense that he doesn't have a lot to work with. Some guys left, some guys chose to leave, some guys they let him walk because they knew that we had to retool. And in the retooling process, I think everybody had really, really high hopes with Kevin Biggio, Vlad, Bo, all these guys coming up through the system. That looking back, I think people are more pissed off because maybe it's not panning out necessarily as we all would have hoped. But at the time, this was just a genius move. You're thinking, okay, let's be bad for a few years, and then these superstars are going to come in here and take over the game of baseball. And a little bit we saw that, but yeah, now looking back, it's like, oh my goodness, like weren't we blessed in 2015, 2016? So I do want to get more into Ross Atkins and just what the sort of end goal is here for him. But we will take a quick break and then we will get fully in on our actual full opinions and what should be done here. Carter, it's going to be interesting. We'll be right back.
Take care of all your vehicular maintenance needs with our partner, eBay Motors. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your vehicle, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your partner's guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring it home. Whether it's a new spoiler, new brakes, an alternator, or you just want to deck out your new ride, eBay Motors will cover everything you need. They're super easy to deal with, very knowledgeable, and their experts give great advice that are very specific to your needs. To keep your ride or die alive with eBay Motors, you can go to ebaymotors.com. Eligible items apply, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available for U.S. customers.
Okay, it's time to actually talk about it. What do we do? I have to say this. This is going to hurt everybody listening. Some people cover your ears because this sucks. Ross Atkins is in his 9th season with the Toronto Blue Jays. Since that 2016 run, the Blue Jays have not won a single postseason game or playoff game. In saying that, right, we talk about all these good moves that Ross Atkins has made, or he's probably he's on the high side of good moves compared to bad moves, right? But at the end of the day, Carter, when there's no success, when your team, which this was supposed to be our years, is second last in the entirety of the MLB in runners in scoring position, there's a problem. The Blue Jays are hitting 192 with runners in scoring position, which is second worst in the entire league. We've made the postseason. We haven't won a game in the postseason. And this is the prime of our superstar's career, most likely. At the end of the day, how much for you does this fall on Ross Atkins?
Yeah, like you said in that first segment, going back to those dog years when this team was not very good, you had the big three. It was Vladdy, Bo, and Kevin Biggio, with all their dads being MLB superstars. Dante Bichette, Vladdy Sr., and then Craig Biggio. These guys were all lined up to have very successful careers. And not to say that they haven't. All are still very young. I think Kevin's the oldest, I believe, at 29. He is under 30s around there. With Bo Bichette, Vladdy, Bo Bichette's 25. Vladdy, I believe, is 24. So, again, lots of time for them to progress still. But now you're looking at this team. And when you look at this team throughout all of 2023, you had offensive struggles up and down the lineup. It always felt like this Blue Jays team was never scoring runs. And then what does Ross Atkins do this offseason? Literally everyone is asking for offense. We're pleading, begging Ross Atkins, pretty much on our hands and knees. And this is what he gives us. He gives us Justin Turner. I love that signing. That's awesome. Yariel Rodriguez, great for pitching depth. I think he's going to be good. IKF, whatever. Veteran presence. It is what it is. That's it. That's the only way he bolstered this offense that was horrible last season. When you look at this offseason in terms of, we were in on Shohei Ohtani. We were willing to spend $700 million on one player, one guy, instead of an entirety of a roster. So you look at other guys that were available: Cody Bellinger, Jorge Soler, JD Martinez, multiple other people. Jamer Candelario was their third baseman I wanted. He went pretty early in free agency. There's multiple other players that multiple people wanted. I'm sure people watching this, there's at least one free agent. Obviously, the Blue Jays didn't sign because they didn't really sign anyone. So just looking at this team, obviously this team is built a certain way. It's reliant on pitching, reliant on defense. You have a very good defense. Their first in defensive round save this year. That's awesome. It's great to have good defense. This pitching has struggled a little bit this year. Team stats for pitching. I know their ERA stat is definitely inflated. Eric Swanson's had a couple of bad outings. Chris Bassett's another one. Those will get better. I'm not worried about the pitching numbers right now. It always all comes back to this offense. Braden, I'll give it to you. Are these team stats looking good?
Well, Carter, but before I do that, I want to say something that sort of relates to Ross Atkins here. At one point, hitting was all we had. The pitching was gone. We couldn't save games. It just wouldn't go our way. And then it became a little bit of an overcorrection where we didn't rely on our hitting because we're like, okay, well, if we can just get really good pitching, everything will work out. And that's obviously not working out, right? And I'm looking at these team statistics here for the Toronto Blue Jays. I know. Justin's going to give me grief because I always say I'm not a stats guy. And then I always end up spitting like 19 stats at you. We are 27th in the league in runs scored, 25th in hits, 24th in average, 23rd in slugging, 22nd in OPS, 21st in home runs. It's just not good. It's not good. These are not statistics that are a World Series champion team. It's bad. It's bad, and something could have been done this offseason. Something should have been done this offseason to help this out. And don't get me wrong, you weren't going to know that Vlad wasn't going to have a great season, that Bo wasn't going to start out hot, that George Springer wasn't going to, rebound. And I think you're seeing what we sort of expected early on from Dalton Varsho. I think he's being the player that we want him to be. Yeah, he could still get a little bit better, but he's doing his role. Justin Turner is doing his role. Our young guys, David Schneider, Ernie Clement, they're doing their part. Our catchers actually lately have been, as a tandem, electric. Everybody else is doing their part except our superstars who are hitting 1, 2, and 3 in our lineup. And I don't know necessarily if that is a Ross Atkins move. I think if those guys play as expected, maybe we're winning a lot of games. It's tough. It's just tough. When your superstars aren't your superstars, it doesn't matter how good the rest of your team is. You're not going to win baseball games. That's what it comes down to.
Well, and that's the thing with Ross Atkins. You can blame this guy all you want. Yeah, he should have probably brought in more hitters for this team. You thought last year there wasn't people hitting, but he did kind of rely on some of the young stars on this team. You see Ernie Clement. He's playing very good this season. David Schneider, one of the best hitters on the team. You get Justin Turner. He's hitting 298. He looks unbelievable at the plate. He's taking the most pitches per at-bat in the league. This guy is a pain in the butt to get out, to say the least. And then you look at the top three. Who would have guessed that your top three superstars were going to be hitting all under 240 through the first 33 games? I think it's 32, whatever it is, to start the season.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do as a manager. And when you look at this pitching staff, Ross Atkins has constructed one of the best pitching staffs that I have ever seen. You're looking at this rotation. When you have everyone healthy, there's not a guy that I'm like, he's going to be bad. Every single time you have this pitching staff, no matter who it is, go out, you're going to give you a chance to win. And maybe this is a completely different zone, maybe a completely different feel if Vladdy's hitting 270, if George Springer has a pulse at the plate, if Bo Bichette is hitting like he normally does. Yes, it's not going to be a high-level offense. This offense was never advertised to be a top 10 offense. And yes, this is sort of a boring brand of baseball to play when you're winning games 3-1, 4-2, 3-0, things like that. But even if this offense can be average, they're going to have a very good chance of being a very good team. And the question really is are you blaming Ross Atkins for not bringing enough offensive firepower in? Are you blaming John Schneider necessarily for not putting order when things aren't going right? Or are you blaming the players themselves for not performing? At some point, you have to hold the players accountable. Vladdy
Yes.
has to be better. He has been a little bit better. George Springer has been horrible. Bo Bichette has been horrible. Alejandro Kirk started the year bad. He's picking it up a little bit. And we have a lot of positives in this offense. Any chances raking baseballs. Tony Varsho's at bats recently haven't been great. We started off the season with a bang. I've already said enough about Justin Turner. It's a tough situation, and I've actually been surprised at how many people are calling for Ross Atkins' head. It is 32 games in the season. It's not a good product on the field, and I honestly have hated my life the last week of watching Toronto Blue Jays baseball, but it is so early on in the year. This guy has put together a decent roster. I'm not necessarily calling for his head here. I think it's so early on. If the Blue Jays don't make the playoffs, if they are under 500, yeah, he's gone. You have no success in 9 years. Get out of here. But I think this is Ross Atkins' last year to prove that this roster has a chance to win baseball games, and the players got to help him out a little bit.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, where is our final standings? Where does Carter first stand on top of the hill with Ross Atkins? And you answered my question. Now, I'm on the same page with you, sort of. We haven't won I'm going to bring it back to this stat. We have not won a playoff game since 2016. There's no excuse for that. There's zero excuse. Yes, I blame the players. We went through a tough time for a few years. But now is the time to win with this team, and we're not doing it. We're not doing it whatsoever. And Ross Atkins has to be held accountable. There is no excuse, but I don't necessarily believe that it is just on him. But I think there's got to be a lot of decisions made at the end of this season if this continues. Because yes, everybody can say it's early. Absolutely, they can say it's early. But at the end of the day, we haven't seen anything in 8 years. 8 years is a long time. I was in school 8 years ago. You were in school 8 years ago. You might have been in middle school 8 years ago. This is a long time to be a Blue Jays fan and not to see any type of success. And I don't want to hear, yes, we made the playoffs. Making the playoffs is not success, because unless you win in the playoffs, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. You could look at the Winnipeg Jets, who have not been able to win a playoff series. And not that we just haven't won a playoff series. We haven't won a single playoff game with the superstars that this team should have. So at the end of the day, yes, this is on Ross Atkins. And I believe that. And I believe there might have to be a change made if this team isn't where it needs to be at the end of the season. But also, there might have to be a very good look at Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, and especially, I think, more than anybody, George Springer. And I mean, we've said what we need to say about John Schneider already. So I'm praying to God, I really am, that this team can pick it up. But Carter, it's looking like we're just not going to find it this season. And I hate to say that, we're only 30 games into this season, and I do realize that. But at some point, you get a feeling in the gut, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what's going to change for this team? And this is the last thing I'm going to say. I'm not calling for Ross Atkins' head yet. It is early on in the season. And with saying that, Ross Atkins has to feel some pressure here. He has to know that his job is on the line this season. So saying that, why would not Ross Atkins not go balls to the wall here at the trade deadline and just dump all of our prospects into hitting? Again, the All-Star break is a long time away. Maybe this team can be fixed with one more power bat. I think it takes more than one power bat, but that's a start, right? And it depends when he wants to start acting. Do you want to wait until it's a month before the All-Star break and maybe this team's out of playoff contention? This is a huge make or break it season, not only for Ross Atkins. Ross Atkins could be gone, could not be gone at the end of the season. This could be a complete overhaul for the Toronto Blue Jays if they fail to make the playoffs this season, because you have this young core through 2020 and on who haven't shown you any success in the playoffs either. And again, you got to hold the players accountable. You have Vladdy, you have Bo in their second last year of arbitration. There might have to be some talks if these guys are who you want to be with the Toronto Blue Jays organization for the future. Again, this is all speculation. This Toronto Blue Jays season can completely turn head upside down. They can go on a huge winning streak in May, huge winning streak in June. We could be like, God, thank God we stuck it out in these dog days in April and May, and this team found a way to figure it out. And from what I've seen, it's hard to speculate that, and it's really hard based off of the product we've seen on the field from this offense. But with baseball, you got to have hope. You got to hope that the Toronto Blue Jays can turn it around, because if you don't have hope, what's the point of watching?
You're 100% right. And that's what I always preach. As much as I come on here and complain, it's not going to stop me from watching Blue Jays baseball, because in my heart, my gut's telling me nothing's going to change, but my heart is telling me keep sticking it out. This team is going to do something. And like I said, a little bit of a caveat to what I said was that it takes those three guys to be good. And this team is a very, very good team. So all you need is Vlad and Bo to something to click into gear. And all of a sudden, this team is winning 70% of its games. We'll see.
Yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments section. Do you think it's Ross's time to go? Do you think this is maybe John Schneider? Maybe John Schneider's the problem here with this lineup, or is it a player problem, or is it a combination of all three? Who are you posting the most blame on? Ross Atkins, it's going to be an interesting year for him. It's interesting how this is going to pan out. This Toronto Blue Jays future can be flipped completely upside down in the matter of a couple months. But saying that, the MLB season is a long road, lots of ups and downs. I feel like we've only been on a down this year. That's part of the problem. But saying that, it looks like things can only go up, right? Hopefully we get 6 in the 6. Road to 6 rounds continues. Here we are. Saying that, we're going to start previewing this next Blue Jays series. We got the Nationals coming up. Before we do that, though, I did want to throw it over to our Locked On 24/7 streaming channel, either the Locked On Sports Today channel or the Amazon Fire TV channels app. NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, there's NFL breakdowns, college sports, whatever you want to tune into at whatever time you please. Perfect opportunity to get expert analysis. We're going to preview the National Series next, and Braden has a story he wants to get into as well. We'll get into all that coming up. Today's episode is also sponsored by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling against other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is very simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in as little as 60 seconds. Huge games today. Huge game for the Toronto Blue Jays. Bounce back game. Need a win. And the Canucks. I've been battling this along with the Blue Jays. My heart has been racing throughout this series. So I got to go with more than shots JT Miller. I'm hoping he's going to pepper the net. But I'm also going to hammer some Blue Jays mores. I got Kikuchi's strikeouts at 5. Hammering that more, absolutely. Vladdy more than 1.5 bases. One thing I was surprised about on PrizePicks, I feel like they're giving away free money on this one. For some reason, George Springer's fantasy score was higher than Vladdy's. He's sitting at an 8, and Vladdy's at a 7.5. I'm sorry, Springer. I'm hammering that less than. He also has bases at 1.5, hammering that less than. His at-bat's been horrible. Again, you can ride with me. You can fade me. Again, you're probably going to have probably similar results in each. I'm about 50-50. So I would advise you not to ride with me. Hopefully you can prove that you're a better gambler than me on PrizePicks with your daily fantasy sports. So you can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit matchup to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit matchup to $100.
Today's episode also brought to you by Monopoly Go. Monopoly Go has been sweeping our friend group, our Locked On hosts throughout all of Locked On. Everybody's playing it. Me and Carter have been rolling. Me and a couple buddies have been rolling it. It has been unbelievable. I don't know if I've ever had my phone in my hand more than playing Monopoly Go. You can team up with friends for limited tournaments where you can work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win, the more awesome prizes you unlock, and there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's also always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now. Free on the Google Play and App Store. All right. Well, how does everybody feel that John Schneider decided to go out of his way? Well, I shouldn't say out of his way, but goes out and calls out all of the Toronto Blue Jays fan base because we're a little upset that we're not winning baseball games or scoring runs. All we're asking for is 6 in the 6, and we can't seem to do that. Carter, he goes in and he says, it's May. It'll come. We will be better. I would hope Our fans trust the fact that we have really good players and that they understand they're not performing up to their expectations. Well, John, that's an understatement, big guy. That is an absolute understatement. This team has been tough to watch. John Schneider is an absolute bum for calling out the fans here. An absolutely ridiculous thing to say. You're not winning games. You're not scoring runs. Like I said, 6 in the 6. What? It's happened twice since April 6th? Figure it out. 6 in the 6, Carter. It's no, I don't know if it's that impossible, but I guess it is. At the end of the day, does this make me thrilled that John Schneider's calling out the fans and setting instead of taking responsibility and maybe making some changes? Absolutely. I'm a little bit furious when I saw this come out. How do you feel?
First of all, John Schneider, his stubbornness is starting to really get to me. Every time I'm seeing this lineup, and then I have to watch George Springer, Bo Bichette have horrible at-bats, I don't understand what's going through this guy's head. And how does he think he has the right to tell fans what they're watching when we've watched one of the worst offenses I've ever seen over the last year and a half? These fans are going through emotional turmoil to follow this team. I know, myself included. There's a lot of times this season that I've wanted to turn off the TV, but I just couldn't because I do want to ride with my Jays guys. And it's so hard for us to watch. He seems like he's undermining fan perspectives on this one and fan emotions. Like, you, as fans, we have the right to be mad about this team. This is horrible. This shouldn't be normalized for the Toronto Blue Jays. This pain, this turmoil should not be normalized. This is absolutely insane from John Schneider. He's losing more and more of the fan base with every single thing he says, it seems like. And the lack of moves, the lack of accountability, it seems like, just always deflecting, saying, it's going to come, it's going to come, it's going to come. We're 32 games in the season and it hasn't come yet. It's about 20, almost 20% of the way in the season. We're getting to the point. It is early. I get that. But I'm getting tired of hearing that as well. When are the results going to come? Again, it's not all on John Schneider. But again, he's not really putting his name in the fans' nice books with what he's saying about this Toronto Blue Jays team and this Toronto Blue Jays fan base.
No, there's got to be accountability. There's got to be some accountability. You have to come out there and say, yeah, things aren't going well. We're working through stuff. We're figuring it out. That is what should have been said. I understand it's tough watching this team when they're not producing. We're figuring it out. Try something. Spin it that way. But don't put the fans down. That is one of the worst things you could do, because these are the people that support your team, that come to the games, that tune into all these games all the time, that talk about these teams on podcasts. You know what I mean? And we can't, and then we sort of get whatever. Like, he sort of comes at us, and I don't know. It's just very frustrating. But in saying that, Carter, we got the Nationals coming up. I think this is an easier series, especially when you look at the bum they have pitching against Kikuchi. Patrick Corbin, Carter. Patrick Corbin, one of the worst. Is it the worst ERA in the entire league? It is
the worst ERA in all of baseball so far this season. If the Toronto Blue Jays cannot score, I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to say 4 runs. That's all I'm asking for.
6 in the 6.
I'm not even asking for 6. I'm not even asking for 6 in the 6. I don't even care about that. I want 4.
Actually, it's not in the 6 anyway, so it wouldn't matter.
I thought it was in Washington. Yeah. That's again, doesn't matter. I want 4 runs from this team. This is the worst pitcher in baseball so far this season. If they can't score 4 runs against this bum, I am going to have a rage session on TikTok, YouTube Shorts after that game. It's going to be bad. It's going to be my therapy, because therapy's expensive. You guys, unfortunately, are going to have to be my therapist, because I'm not going to be able to take it if this team can't score off this bum.
Yeah, Carter, I'm with you. I don't know. It's horrendous, and we've seen what Kikuchi's been doing this year. That guy has been outstanding, to say the least. And he's going to give you a chance. He's going to give you a real good chance. It's going to be very interesting what John Schneider puts out there as a lineup. I think they need to win this series at the minimum, Carter. Otherwise, I think a lot of fans are going to be up in arms. If not, this might be a Vancouver after losing the Stanley Cup type of situation. Fans are going to be outraged if they can't win this one. Then, of course, Carter, the next day, they have Jake Irvin as well, who, again, 4.28 ERA, not great either against our, well, supposed ace Kevin Gausman. I mean, it's tough to take that away from Barrios, but like Kevin Gausman against him, again, that should be one that you think in your head, this should be a win.
Oh, and he's been unbelievable in his last 3 starts. Under a 1 ERA. Our ace is back. Again, Jose Barrios, after what he's done so far this season, up for debate. But I have 2 aces in my book. I don't care who you want to give it to. They're both unbelievable.
They are both unbelievable. And you know what? I think the 2 aces, Carter's got a pair of aces, and he's betting the hand. I love it. And then, of course, the third game, we don't know who the pitcher is going to be yet for the Toronto Blue Jays, if it's going to be a bullpen day or if they're going to do something sneaky and a little bit creative. Well, I don't even know if I want to say that. Scary maybe is the right word, and bringing up Alek Manoah. Who knows? But that, of course, they would go up against Mackenzie Gore, who has a 2-3 record this year, 31 innings pitched, and he's got an ERA of 3.19, which I think would be an interesting matchup, depending on if it is Alek Manoah. If it is the bullpen day, that worries me a little bit. I don't love bullpen days. I feel like it ends up being a throwaway day, which is I don't think this team can't afford a throwaway day, but then I also don't think that, I don't know if Alek Manoah is a non-throwaway day. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Carter, I need to hear your series predictions.
I'm going to say it. I know it's early on in the season. This is a must-win series. Must win for my mental health. Must win for all Blue Jays fans' mental health. Must win for this Toronto Blue Jays offense, this Toronto Blue Jays team. Patrick Corbin, if you lose to this guy, I don't mean to be dramatic, but the season might be over here. The season might be done. Throw in the towel. Fold those double aces. We lost to a full house. Screw it. Next,
I love it.
So I have a win for Patrick Corbin. It has to be a win. It has to be. It just has to be. That's all I got to say about that. Irvin, I'm going to give this team the benefit of the doubt. We need a series win. I think they win the first 2. Mackenzie Gore, good pitcher. Blue Jays get nothing against them. They win the series 2-1.
Carter, looks like we're going to stay tied because I am also going 2-1 in the exact same fashion.
I think that's the first time this year we've had the same series prediction. So Again, screw the series predictions. Let's just get a series win.
Yeah,
man.
we're riding
how we get it done.
We're riding together on this one. Me and you, we're going to ride together. We got Gausser on the mound, one of the 2 aces. And let's just somebody please help us. We need help. I'm losing it. I'm losing it every episode, Carter. I'm coming on here and I'm losing my mind. I swear to God, I go to bed after this and after these podcasts or whatever, and I conk out and I dream about Toronto Blue Jays winning baseball games. You know what I dreamt about last night? Me and you were talking about the CN Tower. Great. Yeah. No context. That sounds crazy.
I don't know how I feel about you having dreams about me.
It wasn't about you. It wasn't about you. But we were talking about the CN Tower the night before. And I had a dream I got a tattoo of the CN Tower.
Maybe you can keep those Carter dreams to yourself. I don't know what I'm dreaming about.
Come on.
So I'm going to move on to one last thing I want to bring up. And it's Nathan Lucas might be heading his way to Washington for the series. Again, I love Nathan Lucas. He was great in spring training. He's hitting right now 284 in Buffalo with a 348 OBP and a 432 slugging in 20 games. My only thing is,
why
bring somebody up? Who are you sending down? So the only 2 people that I can really think of is Addison Barger. Unfortunately, he has struggled a little bit at the plate, does have options. And the other one is Daniel Vogelbach, simply just because he's not playing. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how this transpires. We do need outfield help. I'm not sure what the other move is going to be heading the other way. Do you got any insight on that?
Carter, no. But I do have an interesting. I have got nothing. I don't know. But you know what? I was on Twitter today, as I usually am. And I got a little bit of an interesting clip here. Joey Votto made a quote 7 hours ago, quote tweeted somebody, and it said, "We need Joey Votto back in the booth." Joey Votto goes, "You misspelled box." I tweeted at him, "Joey Votto, the Blue Jays need you. The Locked On Blue Jays podcast needs you so we can regain some of our sanity."
He's alive. He's alive.
It is confirmed Joey Votto is alive. He's on Twitter. I want everybody that watches this episode, if you made it to this point, go on Twitter, tag me in Joey Votto's posts over and over and over again until he gives me a response of why this guy isn't hitting home runs in the major leagues right now. I need some hope, and he might be the angel of destiny coming down and bringing us home runs.
Hey, I mean, a 39-year-old is the best offensive player on this team. Why can't a 40-year-old do the same thing, right?
Exactly. I don't know. At this point, I'm trying anything. Somebody get Joey Votto on the phone. Shoot him a call. I don't care how it has to happen. If I got to message him on Twitter every single day, I will do that. And I'm going to. Anytime that guy tweets, there's going to be a reply tweet from me underneath saying, where are you? Do you need help? Do they got you caged up somewhere? Me and Carter are coming down.
I mean, at this point, why not, right? It can't get any worse. You might as well throw him in there. Might as well hit him 4. I mean, they throw Vogie at 4 when he doesn't hit for a week. So, I mean, Joey Votto hasn't been in the majors for a month. Screw it. Let's put him at 4. John Schneider, why not, right? I just wanted to say quite the interesting episode, up and down. Lots of interesting perspectives. Let us know what you guys think on pretty much everything we've talked about. Ross Atkins, John Schneider, you name it, Vladdy. If you want to go in on Votto, go in on Votto. You know, we're always up for a debate. Just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. The likes, subscriptions, the comments. We always love engaging in debates with you guys. The support has been ridiculous the last couple of weeks. We are going to Toronto May 17th to May 20th. So anywhere to eat, anywhere to go out. If you guys are sitting at the Rogers Center, comment where you guys are sitting. We can maybe meet you guys there at some point. Maybe in the Corona Rooftop Lounge.
Yeah, we can grab a couple beverages once or twice a game.
I might have one out there, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But before we do head out, I just wanted to throw it over again one more time. Locked On Sports Today channel or Amazon Fire TV channels app. All the playoffs going on, college sports, you name it. Great time to be a sports fan. You might as well go over expert analysis, Locked On Sports Today or Amazon Fire TV channels app 24/7. Braden, you got anything else to add for the people?
Yeah, Carter might be discombobulated after the amount of beers he has in the Corona, whatever patio it is or whatever. So keep a lookout for a guy stumbling around Rogers, and then you might see us.
Maybe I'll go give John Schneider a piece of my mind. I don't think I need a beer to do that, though. I think I could just do that right when I get there.
I think so.
Away. Somebody's got to hold him accountable. Seems like not a lot of people are telling him too much about what the lineup should look like, and I wish somebody would. Maybe we need Matt Chapman to come back and yell in his face again. I don't know. Something's got to change.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, really appreciate all you guys watching. It's been fun. Again, I feel like I don't even know. I feel like we've been all over the map this episode, and it's sort of been awesome.
There's a lot to talk about, man. It's a tough spot to be as a Blue Jays fan, a Blue Jays podcast, as all the people are watching this. You guys are going through the ups and downs, the roller coaster with us. You guys are watching, if not all, the majority of the games. Again, just, I guess, stick with it. Maybe just leave the Blue Jays on as background noise. Just don't hang out with the family, hang out with girlfriend, spouse, whatever it is, the boys, you name it. Maybe just don't pay as much attention to Toronto Blue Jays baseball right now. It's not the greatest thing.
This series is ours. We're taking it home. Blue Jays for life. Locked On Blue Jays for life. Let's go, baby.